Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Rams gave it their all, but they ultimately fell short to those Baltimore Ravens. But they just look so promising, and there's so much optimism that they can still make the playoffs. And the Chargers straight up disappointed, but not once, but twice, losing to the Broncos and the Raiders. And they didn't just lose more than just the games. Oh, much more. And LAFC unfortunately lost to Columbus Crew in the MLS Cup. How did they lose, and what just happened? And how about the Dodgers signing Shohei Ohtani and Tyer Glasnow? Oh my goodness, that was big time right there. And how about Cal State LA's women's volleyball team winning the NCAA Division II National Championship? And how about Long Beach State pulling off yet another amazing victory, beating USC, spoiling Bronny James' debut? That's 4 big time wins for the Beach tonight. Also, we have UCLA about to kick off in the SoFi Bowl, the Los Angeles Bowl, as they take on Boise State. Can the Bruins end the season off on a high note? And we have the Lakers winning the in-season tournament, which I guess is good, but let's just say it was short-lived. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Saturday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you are listening to episode 159 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on all social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. And follow them on Facebook or like them on Facebook. All you just have to do is hit the like button after you search IE and Sports and Radio. And then boom, that's how you're able to like us on Facebook. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com. And when you go there, you will see a daily updated website full of sports news and all of our podcasts, as well as everything related to our IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame, which I'm in. We also have our merchandise shop, as well as our community forum, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, and our latest sports news. Because for the past 9 years, going on 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support, and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the Single A affiliate, is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit www.plantjerky.net and place your order. And from what I heard, according to the head honcho Larry B, you'll get entered into a raffle to get 2 free bags of jerky as long as you mention that you heard it from IE Sports Radio. Also, if you go visit planetjerky.net, you'll be able to see that prices are slashed for the holidays for the time being. So get your Planet Jerky premium brisket beef jerky while it's discounted. And if you have orders of $50 or more, you'll get it. You'll get shipping for free. Thank you to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. And follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media, on X at SoCal Show IESR, and yours truly, Teran Rodriguez, that would be me, on X, mainly at Teran Rodriguez 1. And that's how you're able to follow me. And without any further delay, let us begin. So you're actually wondering why there's an explicit tag. Well, let's just say there's going to be some anger in the first part of the show. There's actually going to be some anger in a good portion of these parts. There's going to be some bloops and bleeps, unfortunately. And, you know, I'm not going to hold back on some of these segments. I think this might be the first time I have an explicit show in terms of either the SoCal Supreme Sports Show and Set Point, and I don't want to hold back. But first, we have to start off with the Rams. Now, here's the thing for the Rams. I knew they were going to have an uphill climb playing at Baltimore, and honestly, it was going to be tough just because Baltimore is a darn good team. Lamar Jackson is a very good quarterback. Zay Flowers is blossoming as a top wide receiver threat. And honestly, the Rams don't have the best defense. Their defense is one of the younger defenses in the NFL, and it would have surprised me extremely if the Rams wound up winning this game. But here's the thing. The Rams, early on, let's just say they didn't start off all that great. They started off a little bit behind the 8-ball as they got all the way down into the red zone, but they came away with only a field goal. Then Lamar Jackson did his thing, and he hit Isaiah Likely for a 54-yard touchdown pass, which it's already starting to become bad. But then it was kind of a back-and-forth game as the Rams took the lead 10-7, Ravens took back the lead at 14-10, Rams took the lead again 17-14, Rams boosted that lead to 20-14, and then the Ravens added a field goal late. So Rams were up 20-17, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe the Rams are holding their own. But to start the third quarter, the Rams unfortunately had to punt, and then the Ravens cashed in on a Justin Tucker field goal. Then they had to punt again, but they punted deep. They pinned Baltimore deep within their territory, and fortunately for the Rams, they managed to get lucky as, unfortunately for the Ravens, they fumbled out of bounds. The snap was mishandled, and then the ball was kicked out of bounds by Lamar Jackson, and it was a safety. So Rams are now at 22-20. It's looking pretty good, right? No. The Rams decided to punt the ball back because their offense can't put 2 plus 2 together. So it's still 22-20 going into the fourth quarter, and I did not expect the Rams to be in this game for so long. I knew they were going to give the Ravens a battle, but I didn't think they would give them this battle. Justin Tucker kicked a 33-yard field goal, which is automatic for him. So the Ravens are up 23-22. The Rams eventually do march down the field. They get that good drive, and Matthew Stafford hits Demarcus Robinson for a small touchdown, 5-yard touchdown. And unfortunately for the Rams, they go for 2, which was the smartest decision, but unfortunately it was poorly executed, and it could have been easily picked off. So the Ravens are driving down, and I'm thinking, oh no. And I'm looking at the game. It's third down. It's like third and like forever. Like 3rd and 17. I'm thinking, please don't find Zay Flowers, because I know the Ravens are going to be throwing, because it makes zero sense to run it on third down when your timeouts, when I think they didn't even have any timeouts. So I'm thinking, please don't hit Zay Flowers, please don't hit Zay Flowers, please don't hit Zay Flowers. They found Zay Flowers for the touchdown. It's like, curse this young defense. And unlike the Rams, the Ravens executed the 2-point conversion great as Lamar Jackson found Zay Flowers again. So it's 31-28, and I say on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show X account saying the only way the Rams win this game is if they go down the field and get a game-winning touchdown drive, or they win it in overtime. Well, part of that was correct, as the Rams did actually get a field goal. They actually went all the way down, and they actually had their chances to win, but sadly, they had to settle for the 36-yard field goal. Thankfully for the Rams, they hit it, and it was 31-31 at the end of regulation, and I did not expect the Rams going OT with the Ravens. So, Ravens get the ball to start, and unfortunately for them, they have to go 3 and out. So, this is the Rams' chance to basically put the Ravens away and register their biggest win of the season, probably the biggest win for this young Rams squad. Unfortunately, they had to go 3 and out, and they kick it to, I think is Tylan Wallace. They kick it to Tylan Wallace, and I'm thinking, well, at this point, the Rams are just going to have to force a turnover and then cash in on the field goal. The Rams never get the ball back because Tylan Wallace goes in for a 76-yard punt return touchdown. So, no. I even said it on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show X account. I did not have that on my bingo card of how the Rams would lose that way. So the Rams lose 37-31. And, yeah, I knew the Rams would lose, but, oh my God, they gave the Ravens everything and more. If the Rams' defense was a little bit more experienced, they might have had a legit shot at winning. But, unfortunately, they traded away all their key pieces, like Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey, all those guys that were on that Super Bowl team from 2 seasons ago. And now they have a very young defense, and they let Lamar cook. I mean, they did get an interception on him, and Matthew Stafford was great, but he certainly wasn't perfect. But neither was Lamar Jackson. They even allowed Lamar to have 70 rushing yards. Then they even allowed former Ram Odell Beckham Jr. to lead the Ravens in receiving yards with 97. On the bright side of things, Cooper Kupp looked like his Cooper Kupp self, as he had 115 receiving yards, which was pretty darn impressive. And Mike Pat, the host of our DMV show, Let's Whine About DMV Sports, he says, Tylan Wallace, Baltimore legend, and he said that was a great game. Yeah, it was. Honestly, I would have never anticipated the Rams to basically go into overtime with the Ravens. And the Ravens are one of the better teams in the NFL. The good news is that the Rams also covered, so I'll give the Rams a thumbs up for that, and I'll give them an E for effort. I really thought that they were going to get thumped. I wouldn't say as bad as the Ravens thumped the Chargers, but I will say this just goes to show that the Rams, they're a couple years away in terms of being great defensively, because that young defense really needs to evolve, and they may need to make some key splashes. Oh, I also forgot Bobby Wagner is another player that they lost in terms of free agency. So, the Rams are 6-7. They're still on the outside looking in. That's the bad news. Now, the good news is for the Rams is that they got a little bit of help along the way in terms of the playoff race. As, unfortunately, the Vikings wound up beating the Raiders, which really sucks. But the Seahawks wound up losing to the Niners. I guess that's a thing right there. It's looking like the Rams are not even going to win the division at this point. I mean, the Rams would have had to run the table, which would mean beating the Niners, which they haven't done so in the regular season. And then this was probably the biggest surprise. The Packers wound up losing to the Giants. Now, I don't know what happened. I did see that game in its kind of entirety after I did set point, but I'm just wondering, okay, well, the Rams will take that. Again, that's the good news. The Packers lost and the Seahawks lost. The bad news is that didn't really move the needle in terms of the Rams' playoff chances. They're still on the outside looking in because the Packers have the tiebreaker over the Rams. So the Rams, as Mike puts in the chat room, they get the Commanders, you lucky dog. And yes, they are insanely lucky, and I am so happy for the Rams' sake that they get the Commanders. That's the good news. The bad news is that Aaron Donald is now questionable with a quad injury, and I'm certain they'll still get the job done, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the Commanders are starting Jacoby Brissett, a.k.a. Brissett Brisket, or they're still going to roll with Sam Howell. Regardless, the Commanders are still a flaming dumpster fire. This is the game that the Rams have to win, and the Commanders are coming off of. They've given up 45 points in back-to-back games. They even gave up 31 to the Giants. Their last win was against the Patriots, which that's not even a quality win at this point. But I digress. So, in order for the Rams to win, they have to play good football. They have to play clean, solid, sound football. They have to not make mistakes. They have to get the run game going. Kyren Williams is a dude. He's becoming great for the Rams' run game. He had 114 rushing yards. Cooper Kupp is looking like his former self after that injury. The only thing I will say is, Puka Nacua didn't have a bad game. He had 84 receiving yards, but he only had 5 catches, which if he could get those receptions up, then the Rams could have one of the better receiving duos in the league. Oh yeah, Tutu Atwell is also questionable with a concussion, which that's not fun. But the main thing is that the Rams have to play clean football. If they play clean football, they should handle the Commanders very easily. They're actually 6.5-point favorites over the Commies. And also Rob Havenstein, one of their offensive tackle, is also questionable. So there's that right there. So for the Rams, they just have to show up, and it's going to be at SoFi Stadium. They just have to actually show up. They actually have to play smart, and Sean McVay just cannot get cute. If they win this game, they can definitely get closer to a playoff spot. Now, obviously, it doesn't help for the Rams, however, is that the Packers are playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs are also right on the Rams' coattails. So it just means the Rams have to win this game. No excuses. They have to. There's no... Because the next 3 games are definitely winnable. They've got the Commanders this week. They've got the Saints, which is a short game on Thursday night. And then they've got the Giants in Week 17. All 3 games are winnable, and all 3 opponents are sub 500. If the Rams win those 3 games, that's already 9 wins. That's 3 straight wins, and then the Rams are 9-7 going into that final Week 18 tilt against the 49ers. Now, obviously, the 49ers, you have to look at their little playoff path, where if they get the number 1 seed, they could be resting their starters just because they don't want to risk losing them. And that could open the door to a possible Rams victory, because the Rams do not want to, pull any punches, and they don't want to depend on other teams beating other teams. Like, for example, they kind of had to depend a little on the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Minnesota Vikings today, because the Bengals beat the Vikings in overtime on Saturday. Yeah, there's NFL on Saturday. Go figure. But anyway, back to the Rams and Commanders. Here's my thing. The Rams, as long as they show up, as long as they play mistake-free football, they're in good shape. I have the Rams winning 31-14 over the Commanders. I could say that they'll win 45-14, but I think that's a little too much. Just based on the last 2 games that the Commanders have played, just because they've given up 45 in their last 2 games. But I think 31, if not maybe like 35, sounds reasonable. Maybe 38, but maybe give the Commanders like 17 or 20 points. Regardless, I have the Rams winning by 2 scores, and this is the time for the Rams to swing while the axe is right there. And then also they play on Thursday night against the Saints, and I'm pretty much going to be recording on Friday, so at my normal time, might as well get that out of the way, which would be noon Pacific time. So I might as well make a prediction for Rams Saints. I think that game's going to be closer, but I still have the Rams winning just because that game is just as important for the Saints as it is for the Rams. I got the Rams winning, let's say 28-20. I really think that the Rams are in a position to make the playoffs, but they have to win the games that they're supposed to win. Now, the Saints aren't bad, but when it comes to Derek Carr facing the Rams, I don't think his track record is, let's say, great. I'm pretty sure Derek Carr does not have a win over the Rams, whether it's in Los Angeles or St. Louis. Regardless, I got the Rams winning. They know what's at stake, and they have to shine on the big stage. Besides, the Rams haven't had a primetime game since week 3 against the Bengals. So it's high time they win on primetime. I like that. It's high time they win on primetime. I love it. And Adam Clark pops in the chat room. He says, yes, the Saints are bad. Do not try to excuse any of the NFC South teams. Oh, yeah. And the Saints are the only NFC South team that the Rams have to play. They don't play the Bucs. Well, the Saints finished third last year, and the Rams finished third last year, or I think it was last. Regardless, it was dependent on both teams' placement in their division. So I feel the Rams will have a little bit more trouble against the Saints just because it's a short week, and it is going to be at SoFi Stadium, but I will say I still like the Rams' chances because they still get to practice. My only thing is Aaron Donald. I think if it comes down to it, I would just limit Aaron Donald's play. I'd put him on a minutes restriction. If not, I just wouldn't play him against the Commanders. I mean, yes, you lose one of your best defensive players against the Commanders, but I don't think they'll be struggling too much against the Commanders. But I digress. At this point of the NFL, you just can't underestimate anybody. I mean, look at what happened with the Giants and the Packers. The Giants wound up beating the Packers, and now the Giants have a little bit more of a glimmer of hope in terms of the playoffs. Same with the Bears. Most people didn't give the Bears a chance against the Minnesota Vikings or the Detroit Lions, and now they've won both of those games, and now they have a better shot at the playoffs. I can't believe most people are ushering those words, but here we are. And the NFC is how do I say this? It's a you-know-what show. I mean, I have the explicit tag on, but I'm saving that for later. It's a complete train wreck. It's a gong show. So the Rams just have to take care of business on their end, and then they could look ahead to Week 17 against the Giants. That's a road game. Their last 2 games are road games against the Giants and then the Niners. So they should get used to playing at SoFi while they can before they hit the road to the Big Apple, a.k.a. MetLife Stadium, and then they have to head down to Santa Clara, to play those Niners. All right, that's going to do it for the Rams. All right, before I continue and before I head on over to the Chargers, I'm just going to give you all a fair warning. There is going to be a lot of cussing. There's going to be quite a bit of cussing, and listener discretion is advised, and this is why I have the explicit tag. And Adam Clark says, with the Vikings losing this afternoon, the NFC will have only 4 teams with winning records in Week 16. Yup. That would be the Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, and Lions, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, and Lions. Interesting. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Adam. All right, but over to the Chargers. All right, the Chargers, okay. They played the Denver Broncos on Sunday. And, well, it was Antonio Gates Day. And if you all heard me on the previous show, I was really hoping the Chargers would get the win just because, well, the Broncos, while they are improved, but they're not world beaters, as Matt Money Smith said, the radio play-by-play of the Chargers. He said it best. The Broncos are not world beaters. They are definitely beatable. The Houston Texans kind of exploited that the week before. And the Chargers were coming off of a great, I use the term great very loosely, over the New England Patriots on the road, in the world's most sloppiest weather out there. But against Denver on Antonio Gates Day, let's just say the Chargers forgot to show up, as well as their fans. But I will, as the Broncos basically jumped on them early with a 3-yard touchdown run. I want to say that was after Justin Herbert threw an interception, which unfortunately gave the Broncos way too good of a field position. And all they just needed to do was just hand it off to Javonte Williams, and then boom, that's how he was able to run it in. And then in the second quarter, this is where everything just went to complete you-know-what. It just went to complete and let the cussing begin. It went to complete shit. Justin Herbert got hurt, and some were thinking it was his hand, and unfortunately he was in the blue medical tent, and he was forced out, and eventually he was ruled out the rest of the way. Enter Easton Stick. Fortunately for the Chargers, and I really should be... I can't believe I'm saying this. Fortunately for the Chargers, they only allowed a field goal in that second quarter from the Broncos, and that was late in the quarter. It was 10-0 after the first quarter. So you all thought the Chargers were bad without Mike Williams. They just got 10 times worse as Justin Herbert was forced out, and he was eventually ruled out with a hand injury. It was ruled a hand injury, but now it's an index finger injury. More on that later. So now they have to start Easton Stick. Easton Stick. The dude has no starts as the Chargers quarterback, and now he basically has to carry the Chargers to victory, which is practically going to be impossible. And with the way the Chargers played, again, no Joey Bosa, their defense just bent and broke as Russell Wilson hit Courtland Sutton for a 46-yard touchdown pass. If you saw that game, and if you saw that pass, oh my God, that was life, death, taxes, and Courtland Sutton making the most amazing catches out there. As now the Chargers were down 17-0. Yeah, we all saw that the Chargers' offense was playing bad, but now the defense is back to playing really down again. And the Chargers didn't even get on the board until the fourth quarter where Austin Eckler ran it in. But at that point, they were still down 10, and the Broncos delivered the dagger into them as Adam Troutman caught a 10-yard touchdown pass from Russell Wilson. And long story short, the Chargers let Russ cook, as the Broncos wound up winning 24-7. The Chargers fucking lost on Antonio Gates Day. I literally said they cannot lose on Antonio Gates Day. Is it that difficult? And you know what's worse? It gets worse for the Chargers. So Monday, and then eventually Tuesday, Justin Herbert was ruled with an index finger injury, and now the poor dude is out for the season. He has to be put on IR, and he has to get surgery on that index finger. It's on his throwing hand. It's not the index finger on his opposite hand. It's the index finger on his throwing hand. And I'm just going to say this. The Chargers are screwed without Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was the only thing keeping the Chargers relevant. And because the O-line just could not block for him, sorry to say, the Chargers are now going to be a heaping pile of shit the rest of the way. And let me tell you how much shit they were in this game against the Raiders. They were fucking horrible. Absolutely trash. It's a good thing I didn't watch all of this game. I just watched the highlights. And I just didn't even see that. I just saw the highlights and I was like, oh my God. The Chargers didn't even show up to this Thursday night game against the Raiders. They allowed 21 points in the first quarter. They made Aiden O'Connell look like Brett Favre and Tom Brady combined. That was complete bologna sausage. Matter of fact, it was bullshit, dude. Aiden O'Connell, the same quarterback that the Chargers beat earlier in the season. And they made him look like a fucking Pro Bowler. It was 21-0 after the first quarter. The Raiders didn't even score a damn point in the previous game against Minnesota. And in the next quarter, the Chargers give up another 21. Suddenly, the Chargers are down 42-0. This defensive-minded guru, Brandon Staley, He thinks he's so hot because Aaron Donald freaking carried him while he was with the Rams for 1 year. He's a fucking hack. He's an idiot. I have never seen a lack of effort from Brandon Staley and from the Chargers. Mainly the Chargers. I know they're missing Joey Bosa. I get it. But that is no excuse to give up 42 points. 42 to the Raiders. They didn't even have combined 42 points in their previous 3 games. And Adam Karnick puts it correctly. The Chargers looked like they didn't care. Exactly. Brandon Staley says he hasn't lost the locker room. He says the Jacksonville loss didn't affect them. He is the biggest liar I have ever seen. And you give up 42 points. And that was almost a first half deficit record, as that was 3 points behind the Tennessee Titans giving up 45 points and scoring nothing to the Patriots back in 2009. The Chargers were on the wrong side of history. But it gets worse, everybody. The Raiders scored a touchdown from Davante Adams from Jacoby Myers. It was so bad, the Chargers defense was so damn horrible that even receivers were throwing touchdowns. This defense was picked apart so bad that even receivers could have thrown touchdowns. I could have thrown a touchdown against the Chargers' piss-poor defense. 49-0, and it didn't even get... It was looking like it was going to be a complete shutout until Easton Stick wound up throwing a 79-yard touchdown pass to Joshua Palmer. At least there was someone that actually fucking cared. But as the third quarter ended, John Jenkins stripped Easton Stick of the ball, and he returned it for a 44-yard touchdown. A defensive touchdown. So the offense is now starting to give up just like the defense did. And suddenly it's 56-7 through 3 quarters. 3! It's like the offense and defense just didn't want to show up. And yet everyone still thinks Brandon Staley hasn't lost the locker room. Brandon Staley thinks, oh, I haven't lost the locker room. I deserve to still be the head coach. It's just all about, it's all about this, all about that, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to continue to call the defensive plays. Well, newsflash, genius, why don't you actually read those signs? You are a terrible, terrible coach. You don't know defense, and you should go back to coaching Division III football like Rex Ryan told you to. This was the most saddest thing ever. But wait, there's more. Jack Jones had a pick fucking 6 against the Chargers. Pick 6. And suddenly it was 63-7. 63-7. That was the most points the Chargers had given up in its franchise. And it was also the most points the Raiders had scored in its franchise. So great job, Chargers. Well done. You fucking failed in this game. And I don't even care if they scored 2 touchdowns. I don't care if Alex Erickson and Quentin Johnson caught 2 touchdowns from Easton Stick. The Chargers straight up got blown the fuck out. The only good thing that happened with the Chargers was that they were part of Scorigami. Absolutely terrible. I could not have been more happy to not see this game live. Absolutely a gutless effort from the Chargers. The worst effort ever. And I could not have been more embarrassed to be a Chargers fan that night. And I was around my buddy who was a Raiders fan, and he was just so giddy and over the moon. Okay, he wasn't that giddy, but still. It was so horrible that the Raiders looked like they were world beaters. It looked like the Raiders were a playoff team. And this is the running theme for the Chargers throughout most of the season. You're slumping after a bad loss. You're play the Chargers. You get a bounce back game because their brain dead, stupid ass head coach Brandon Staley doesn't know shit. I'm sorry, but it's the goddamn truth, and I'm so fucking glad that Brandon Staley was shown the door the next day. So Dean Spanos actually makes the smart decision, and he actually fires Brandon Staley. And this was way too late. Staley should have been left in Jacksonville after that 27-0 debacle. But I'm glad the Chargers finally fired him, because if they'd kept him for longer, it would have legit been worse. But there's more. Wait a sec. There is much more when it comes to the whole debacle following that Raiders loss. The Chargers also fired GM Tom Telesco. Now, I know Tom Telesco personally, and I feel more bad for Telesco more so than Staley. Staley was a fucking hack, and I'm so glad he's shown the door. He can go back to the Rams for all I know. But as a matter of fact, no. He can go back to Division III football. The Rams are totally fine with Raheem Mostert calling the defensive plays. Like, Brandon Staley does not need to be carried by Jordan Fuller or Aaron Donald anymore. This dude needs to go back to coaching maybe Pop Warner football, because he's certainly not an NFL coach. Rex Ryan could have done a better job. Shannon Sharp could do a better job. Seriously, every analytics straight up roasted him. Whether it was on Undisputed, whether it's on NBC Sports, the list goes on and on. Everyone did not hold back. Even the reporters in the post-game press conference roasted Brandon Staley. And Brandon Staley straight up said it best. Brandon Staley said, I didn't do a good enough job to prepare. That was it. That was it right there. Brandon Staley just basically admitted it. He needed to go. After he said that, I was like, he needs to go. You can't just not be prepared. I get it. No Keenan Allen. He was actually out. No Justin Herbert. He's out for the season. No Mike Williams. He was out ever since week 3. No Joey Bosa. He was put on IR after the Packers game. And you want to know how bad the Chargers defense was? I forgot to mention this. The Chargers defense was so horrible, they only had 1 sack on the night. 1 sack. Just a terrible overall garbage-ass display from the Chargers. And Adam, I don't know if Brandon Staley was allowed on the plane. I would not be surprised if he was abandoned in Vegas. But when I saw that, I was so happy that Brandon Staley was gone. But I feel for Tom Telesco, but you have to look a little bit more deeper with the Chargers. They finished under Tom Telesco's watch, I want to say 84-93. So under 500. That must have been a red flag right there. And then after that loss, after losing to 2 divisional rivals and putting up 1 meaningful touchdown, okay, maybe 2, if you count the first touchdown from Joshua Palmer, big freaking, that basically is it right there. And you basically got blown out. You also lost on Antonio Gates Day. And also, you have to remember, Tom Telesco was responsible for the J.C. Jackson signing, which belly flopped, as he's now back in New England, and the Chargers are eating up most of that contract. They also drafted Quentin Johnston, who, unfortunately, has not panned out like Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison has. And then Kenneth Murray is a big fat question mark, and the Chargers are going to be over $45 million over the cap. That's how bad the Chargers are going forward. Yes, they have Justin Herbert, and yes, he could possibly bounce back after this horrible finger injury. But honestly, the Chargers could be in some sort of hell unless, of course, they get a big-time hire in terms of GM and in terms of coach. I mean, yes, they could get Bill Belichick or John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. But I will just say this, who's going to want to be their GM? Who's going to want to basically be a part of a spineless, cowardless owner who moved the team from San Diego to Los Angeles? And now they have probably the worst fan base, well, not the worst fan base, but the most non-existent fan base in the NFL. And yes, I understand there are some Chargers fans, including myself. And I will say this, as a Chargers fan, the Chargers fans deserve so much better than this garbage-ass shit that we're seeing. They deserve so much better than what we saw on Sunday when the Broncos handed us a 17-point loss on Antonio Gates Day. We deserve so much better after seeing the Chargers allow 63 points against the fucking Raiders. So, yes, we deserve better. As a Chargers fan, we deserve so much better than this. I could have easily just abandoned the Chargers and just rooted for the Rams. I could have especially done that after last year's debacle against Jacksonville. But look at me. I'm still dedicated and loyal and faithful to the Chargers until the day I die. And it's sad, but I'm still going to be faithful and loyal to the Powder Blues. That's just how I am. Golly. That was frustrating, but therapeutic. And it gets worse. The Chargers still have games left. The Chargers' next game is next Saturday as they head back to SoFi to play Buffalo. Do I really even have to predict that game? No. Okay, fine, I'll predict that stupid game. I mean, with how bad the Chargers played against the Raiders, Buffalo is going to come in because their playoff hopes also ride on these last few games. If Justin Herbert was playing, maybe, hence the word maybe, the Chargers would have a better shot. But since he's not, and the Chargers could be without Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler hasn't been effective in the run game, the Chargers are certainly not going to win this one. God, I wish the NFL could flex this game out. But it's on Saturday and not on Sunday, so they can't. So I have the Chargers losing 42-20. Actually, no, 42-21. The Bills jump out to an early lead, kind of like the Raiders did, and basically the Chargers can't recover. The only thing the Chargers are going to be good for in these last 3 games is Tank Bowl. They're basically going to be tanking the rest of the way. And they're going to be helping out the cause of all these playoff teams, such as the Bills, who are still hopeful for the playoffs. The Broncos, who, even if they had Justin Herbert, I wouldn't expect them to win in Denver that has been their kryptonite throughout the past many years, dating back to 2020. And then also, actually way more than that, I think 2012. And then Kansas City, even if Kansas City rests their starters, is Easton Stick really going to have a big game against the Chiefs' backups? Probably not. So there you go. That is that for the Chargers, and I don't even want to talk about this goddamn team anymore. But again, they're my team, and I'm going to fucking talk about them. I'm going to ride and die with them. Alright, but that's that for the Chargers. Let's talk about something positive. Let's talk about the Lakers, and we might as well just get on into the Lakers and how they were in the. Adam says, "Get the GM first. Who would you hire? Who do you want to hire at GM?" Oh gosh, that's an excellent. That's the $1 million question, Adam. I haven't looked too far into that. I've just only looked at coach. I honestly did not expect the Chargers to fire Tom Telesco, but looking further deep into what the Chargers have done these past years, ever since 2013, I guess it was Telesco's time. But I will say I do wish Tom Telesco the best. I know his family, really nice family. I met his wife back when I worked at the grocery store. His kids are awesome. And his oldest kid I could see playing college football, and his youngest kid, although he didn't get to play football in his junior year, he's going to have a big senior season, I know it. So there's that right there. All right, but regarding your question, Adam, I actually don't know who the Chargers should get as GM. I mean, at this point, I'll take anyone with a good resume. I'll take anyone that is able to turn a team around, as long as they don't hire Hingle McCringleberry. But I digress. All right, but let's jump to the Lakers before I lose my mind in my voice. All right, the Lakers, last Saturday, they were playing in the play-in tournament championship game. Yes, the play-in tournament championship game, I guess, was the biggest deal ever because it's the NBA. So they played the Indiana Pacers, and guess what? The Lakers jumped out to an early 5-point lead at the end of the first quarter. Something good that happened for them. They actually showed up in the first quarter. Then the second quarter, Both teams scored 31 points. So Lakers were up 5 at halftime. Then the Lakers were able to win the third quarter. They got some good contributions. And they eventually pulled away in the fourth quarter, even though the Pacers did everything in their power to try to win the game. But the Lakers, once again, they pulled away. They got a big game from Anthony Davis, who had 41 points. And the Lakers won the in-season tournament finals, 123-109. And good job to the Lakers on winning the in-season tournament. But like I said on my personal account, the Lakers, let's be honest, winning the in-season tournament doesn't mean anything. It's great for show, and I guess great for ratings, even though there are much more things I think most people would do than watch the in-season tournament. But it's cool that the Lakers won, but now they got the bigger goal. Win the gosh damn Larry O'Brien trophy. Alright, but to the Lakers this week, so they followed up winning the in-season tournament championship by losing to the Dallas Mavericks 127-125, which why are you making the Dallas Mavericks look like world beaters, Lakers? I get it, they have a better record, but you can't just have an in-season tournament championship hangover. Fuck, dude. And then they followed that up with a 3-point win over the San Antonio Spurs, which the Lakers almost gave up that one. I get it, no Anthony Davis, but they did have Anthony Davis, but they didn't have LeBron James. So the San Antonio Spurs lost that game while the Lakers wound up improving their record, which was good. And then they closed off the Texas three-step with another matchup with the Spurs. And I'm thinking, all right, well, the Lakers wound up winning without LeBron, and LeBron comes back. But then, unfortunately, D'Angelo Russell was out due to a migraine. Drink some Gatorade, have an ibuprofen, do something to improve that. And then Anthony Davis was also out. So, let's just say this game wasn't as great as the other one. The Lakers... Remember how I was saying that I hope that the Lakers aren't the ones that snapped the Spurs' long losing streak? Unfortunately, they were. The Lakers wound up losing to the Spurs 129-115. The Lakers made the Spurs look like their 2014 selves. It was so fucking sad. They gave up 42 points in the fucking first half alone. 42! Just when we thought the Lakers were turning the corner in the first half, they gave up 42 goddamn points to the last place Spurs. This is a team that is basically on the rebuild. And they made the Spurs look like world beaters. Their leading scorer was Devin Vassell, who had 36 points. I didn't even know who Devin Vassell was. It's like, who the hell is that? Victor Wembanyama only had 13 points, but he did have 15 rebounds. But still, all of their starters were in double digits. They even had two guys score 16 and 15 points off the bench. What the fuck is this, Lakers? And you mean to tell me you allowed the Spurs to win that one? That's just sad right there. I'm so disappointed in the Lakers. And what's worse is this is coming off of the in-season tournament championship. I could not believe this. 18-game losing streak snapped by the Lakers. Great job, Lakers. Way to have yourselves a brain. Way to actually show up on this third game of the Texas three-step. And way to actually blow it. This is why the in-season tournament should not be celebrated. And yet, the NBA made it look like such a big deal. The Lakers shouldn't have even taken the festivities. They shouldn't have popped the champagne. They shouldn't have made a huge deal of it. They should have just said, hey, we won the in-season tournament. Now let's get back to the main goal. Win the Larry O'Brien trophy. Because if you're making a huge deal about being the in-season tournament champions, then you do not have your eyes on the prize. You basically are making a huge deal about something that is unimportant. It's almost about as equivalent as the Dallas Cowboys winning on Thanksgiving, but not winning the Super Bowl. No offense, Cowboys fans, except not really. But still, fucking Lakers, man. That's why I have to have the explicit tag on, because they can't do anything goddamn right. Anyway, so the Lakers are finally done with this Texas three-step, where they went 1-2. I can understand losing to the Mavericks, but losing to the Spurs, they should have at least been 2-1 with that lone loss being to the Mavs. Anyway, so the Lakers are back home on Monday when they host the New York Knicks. Then Wednesday, they head to the Windy City to take on Adam Karnick's Adam Karnick's Chicago Bulls. And yeah, I'm sorry, Drewski. How fitting that Drewski just popped in right when I was talking about the Cowboys and that Cowboys part. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Whoops. Anyway, and then Thursday, the Lakers travel to Minnesota to take on them Timberwolves. And then next Saturday, the Lakers play the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road. And then they won't be back in action until Monday, Christmas Day, when they take on the Boston Celtics. Oh gosh, I forgot that Christmas Day. And Drewski asks, speaking of Cowboys, how has Keld Moore worked for the Chargers? Well, he's worked better. Well, I'm going to be realistic with y'all. He's worked better than Joe Lombardi. With Joe Lombardi, the Chargers' offense was milquetoast. So he's an improvement over that regard, but he is certainly no head coach. And people who say he's going to be a good head coach, you're smoking crack. Stop. And then Adam Karnick says, the Bulls are weird. They might lose by 50 to LA, but they might win by 50. Nobody knows. Yes, they are an anomaly. Nobody knows about the Lakers. Anyway, but the Lakers currently are in 8th place. They've been so bad as of late, well, as of this week, that they allowed the Clippers to surpass them. And that's actually a perfect segue to go into said Clippers. So the Clippers did beat the Utah Jazz this past week, and they've actually been winning quite a bit, as they have yet to lose in the month of December. You know how they beat the Warriors just on December 2nd? And then they beat the Nuggets a few days after. They beat the Jazz a few days after. They edged out the Trailblazers. Well, they edged out the Trailblazers this past Monday. And then Tuesday, on the second of a back-to-back, at home though, they stomped all over the Sacramento Kings. And then Thursday, they took down the Golden State Warriors, which did not have Draymond Green because he's a fucking idiot. Anyway, so the Clippers have now won 6 in a row, as it was looking all doom and gloom, but now it looks like they've actually figured it out. Good for them. I guess James Harden is actually correct in that regard. But tonight, they host the New York Knicks, and then Monday, they hit the road to take on the Indiana Pacers. And then Wednesday, they hit the road to take on the Dallas Mavericks. And then Thursday, they play at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, so now the Clippers are facing some tougher opponents. And then, I guess, next Saturday, they face the Boston Celtics, or they host the Boston Celtics. And then the day after Christmas, they get the comatose match up against the Charlotte Hornets. Well, they get 2 comatose matchups. They get the Charlotte Hornets, and then they get the Memphis Grizzlies, which I'm highly certain no one's going to want to watch. So, as I was mentioning regarding the Clippers, they moved up to 7th. They're still in the play-in tournament area, but let's not focus on the play-in tournament right now. This is basically August, or not August, December. I shouldn't be worried too much about them, but still. And then Drewski says, I don't know why the Mavs have been linked to Draymond if he's going to be traded. I have been seeing that too, and I've been seeing odds that the Lakers might be getting Draymond Green. And oh god, if Draymond Green comes to the Lakers, more on that later. But let's just say he's a complete idiot. All right, but that's that right there for the Lakers and Clippers. Jumping over to some MLS. All right, MLS action. So the LAFC actually had the honor of playing in the MLS Cup Finals for the second straight year as they took on the Columbus Crew on the road. I don't know why. I feel maybe it should be at a neutral site, but what do I know? And let's just say LAFC forgot to show up in the first half, as in the first half, Columbus Crew's Cucho Hernandez scored on a penalty kick, and it was 1-0 in favor of Columbus Crew. 4 minutes after, Yaboa scored a natural goal, and suddenly it's 2-0, and that was the halftime score. So LAFC forgot to actually show up in the first half, which is stupid. Just when we thought LAFC was actually playing smart and they were playing their best soccer, they get this. They give us this. Fortunately, they actually showed up in the second half, albeit it took about 30 minutes, as Dennis Bouanga scored in the 74th minute to cut LAFC's deficit down to 1. But unfortunately for LAFC, they just could not find that equalizer, as Columbus Crew held on and wound up winning 2-1 to win their third MLS Cup championship. My takeaway, Adam Clark says, LAFC forgot that Columbus is on Eastern Time. Facts right there. And let me just say, it was a tough loss for LAFC, but let me just tell you, it's not easy to get to the MLS Cup final. But I will say that was a not so great effort. I am just not bad. I'm just not too mad. I'm just disappointed in how they lost. Because you can't just get blown out early in the first half. I'd rather them lose on a go-ahead goal or a game-winning goal in like maybe extra time or... okay, I was going to say I'd rather them lose in penalty kicks, but penalty kicks is the worst way to lose or win. But it's good for player safety. If you all saw last year's MLS Cup final between Philadelphia and LAFC. But unfortunately for LAFC, their reign as champions ended. I'm 95% certain everyone and their moms was rooting for the Columbus Crew because everyone and their moms hates LAFC because they're the super team. But it is what it is. So, LAFC, I tip my hat to you on a fantastic season, but unfortunately, you actually have to learn to show up in these big-time games. It was kind of like their big-time tournament games. They unfortunately just could not show up when it truly mattered, and as a result, they wound up pooping the bed. But it is what it is, and that's just how it is sometimes. That's the way the ball bounces. So that's that for LAFC right there. Let's jump to a little college football as, well, we have some college football going on right there. As Boise State and UCLA are facing each other in the LA Bowl, held at SoFi Stadium. Coolio beans right there. And UCLA is down 3-0 to Boise State. But it's early. It's still the first quarter. UCLA is playing their starters as they have like Carson Steele and Ethan Garbers on the field in pads. But it's looking like Boise State is in the red zone, which is scary. By the way, Boise State is starting a freshman quarterback. They're starting C.J. Tiller. I said on 3 and Out College Edition today that this is a game that looks like UCLA is going to win, but they're going to wind up getting stomped all over. I hope this isn't like last year's game against Pitt where they wound up playing with their food and not finishing it, and they wound up losing. That was an embarrassment beyond embarrassments. This might have the same makings of it if UCLA falls behind early and often. I picked UCLA to win this game, so please, Bruins. And this makes me wonder if Chip Kelly is going to get fired. I mean, you lost to... I guess that losing to Cal, they had an excuse because Ethan Garbers got knocked out. But still, this is still the game where I feel the Bruins are going to lose, even though I picked them to win. I mean, Boise State did win the Mountain West Conference, which is nice, and I didn't expect them to. I thought they would lose to UNLV, but still, they're starting a freshman quarterback. They're trotting out a freshman quarterback after Hank Bachmeier, who is a Southern California product, entered the transfer portal. So, if UCLA finds some way to lose, I'm going to lose my you-know-what about the Bruins. And I'm not even a UCLA fan, but I can't stand UCLA sometimes. They lost to freaking Arizona State after they were missing 5 starting offensive linemen. They lost to Cal 33-7. Yes, I get it. You lost to Cal without your starting quarterback. But your other quarterback, Dante Moore, still had experience. But look what happened to him. He's now in the transfer portal. So great work, UCLA. Way to utilize your gifts and way to piss them away. Damn Bruins. All right, but that's enough about UCLA. USC doesn't even play until later on in bowl season, as they play after Christmas. They take on Louisville in the Holiday Bowl at Petco Park, which that's pretty cool right there. Caleb Williams is not playing, as you want to know who USC starter is? You really want to know who USC starter is? I'll tell you who USC football starter is. USC football starter, after Caleb Williams has declared for the NFL draft, is... Could we get a drum roll, please? Miller Moss. Yeah, Miller Moss. Oh, Mario Williams is also in the transfer portal as well. And Rayleigh, I think his name is Rayleigh Brown. He's also in the transfer portal too, and he just committed to Arizona State. So, oh boy, USC is going to have a tough time beating Louisville. I could already see that. So, I don't blame Caleb Williams for sitting against Louisville. Save yourself for the NFL draft so you could go to, I don't know, the Vikings, maybe the Raiders, or anyone else. Just please don't get yourself hurt. Or heaven forbid the Patriots. But I could see the Patriots getting Drake May. Do I want that to happen? Of course not. I certainly would not want to see the Patriot way getting revived. And San Diego State doesn't even have a bowl game because they're complete hot garbage. But that's putting it lightly. But that's going to do it for college football. I'll circle the wagons back to the college football scene just because, okay, Boise State made a field goal because their offense can't put 2 plus fucking 2 together. And they're up 6-0 in the first quarter. All right, UCLA, you might want to actually do something and not be a complete moron. You might actually want to, score a touchdown maybe, instead of hammering a square peg in a round hole. Anyway, but that's going to do it for college football. Before we take a commercial break, I actually do need to break some big news regarding the Super Bowl. Yes, not this year's Super Bowl, but the future Super Bowl. So, regarding this year's Super Bowl, or not regarding this year's Super Bowl, the Super Bowl in 2027 is going to be held at SoFi Stadium, which I think is going to be pretty cool if you ask me. I think it's going to be awesome that SoFi Stadium gets to host the Super Bowl yet again. And I think that's definitely cool. And I want to say that's going to be on the cusp of the Olympics that's going to be held in the 2028 Olympics, which I think is also cool, which SoFi Stadium is also hosting. So, just want to get that news out of the way right there. It would be pretty awesome if I were to go to that, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And one of my coworkers said, and he knows about me wanting to be a pro sports journalist and whatnot. He said, well, you want to know what I expect? I expect you to get us tickets to the 2027 Super Bowl. And I know he was just joking, but if that happens, I'll get him nosebleed seats. Yeah, because he never said which tickets. He just said tickets. But more on that later. But that'll do it for the first half of the show. Let's take ourselves a quick commercial break. When we come back, we got some more college sports to discuss, such as college basketball, a little college volleyball, and we got our dum-dums of the week. And we also have the Shohei Ohtani news. Can't forget about that. So keep it locked right here. You were listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Let's Wine About DMV Sports, which will be going on in about 48 minutes as of this recording. But right now, let's close out the second half of the show. So, obviously, oh my god, UCLA scored a touchdown. It's as if they heard me. It's as if they heard that, wait, UCLA starting Colin Schlee at quarterback? You gotta be kidding me. Anyway, okay, so UCLA is up 7-6 in the first quarter after, Colin Schlee ran it in for a 5-yard touchdown. I'm sorry, Hudson Habermel ran it in for a 5-yard touchdown Hudson Habermel caught a 5-yard touchdown pass from Colin Schlee. He's also leading the team in rushing yards with 74. That's a problem right there for UCLA if they're having to bank on on their quarterback to lead them in rushing yards. It's as if they're running Brady Hoke's plays from San Diego State. But anyway, so let's talk about something positive in terms of college sports. So I know y'all heard this on Set Point, but I talked about Cal State LA's NCAA Women's Volleyball Division II National Championship as the Golden Eagles wound up winning the whole shebang last week. So they beat Wayne State of Nebraska. Sorry to Nebraska fans that are listening to this. They also that was in the quarterfinals. So I don't know if y'all know this, but Cal State LA wound up winning its regional. There are 8 regionals, and then if you win your regional, you get dumped into the final 8, and then the selection committee seeds the teams 1 through 8, and then you have to face said certain team. 1 faces 8, 2 faces 7, 3 faces 6, and 4 faces 5. Like any normal tournament. So Cal State LA had the honor of facing Wayne State. I said that was going to be a very interesting matchup, and honestly, it did not disappoint as Cal State LA wound up beating Wayne State in 5 sets, and they actually responded really well after getting thumped in set 3. They jumped out to a 10-0 lead, and they never looked back. And then in the semifinals, Cal State LA wound up sweeping Missouri of St. Louis. Keep in mind, Missouri of St. Louis only lost 1 match going into that NCAA Women's Volleyball Division II semifinal. And Cal State LA made them look like a glorified junior college team. No offense to glorified junior college teams. But Cal State LA straight up swept Missouri of St. Louis. Then the final, Cal State LA took on the reigning champion, West Texas A&M. West Texas A&M, I was raving about them on Set Point, on the Set Point X account. They wound up upsetting top seed Tampa in 5 sets. They dodged 10 match points in set 4, and they even had dodged 2 match points in set 5, and they wound up scoring the last 4 points to win the 5th set, which was pretty cool. But Cal State LA took the first 2 sets. West Texas A&M wound up winning the 3rd set kind of handily, and then Cal State LA got hot early on, and they eventually led by as many as 12, and they wound up winning the 4th set. I want to say it was like 25-14, as they were the 2023 NCAA Division II Women's Volleyball National Champions. It's the first in program history, which is absolutely amazing. And if y'all remember, I had on my 3-year anniversary of Set Point, I had a former Cal State LA women's volleyball player, Taylor Kushner, as a guest, and she was very ecstatic. And Juan Figueroa is the head coach of Cal State LA's women's volleyball team. He's actually a former USC men's volleyball player, and is actually the current head coach of the NVA team, the Puerto Rico Pythons. The NVA is based out of California, by the way. California and New Jersey. But that is amazing stuff from Cal State LA's women's volleyball team. Congratulations on them winning the national championship in Division II. And honestly, that's just absolutely amazing right there. The fact that they had 10-plus wins, they were the only team in the Final 8 with 10-plus wins going into the Final 8, and they wound up winning the whole thing. Just goes to show that regular season doesn't mean crap. Well, I guess I could have used a better word, but regular season doesn't mean shit, and Cal State LA wound up playing their best volleyball when it truly mattered. And I think that win over Wayne State was probably the turning point of the season. So, amazing job by the Golden Eagles winning their first ever NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship. Alright, but that's that for that bit of volleyball news. Jumping on, there was actually another shout out I want to give. I actually want to give a shout out to Cal Lutheran's women's soccer team for winning the NCAA Division III National Championship. So that was big time, and that was all the way back. That was like a month ago. I know I'm behind, and I'm sorry, but better late than never. They actually did have their celebration of the team this past week, which was awesome. I'm glad they recognized the team, and they're not just like a basketball school. You always got to recognize your national champions, regardless of what sport they play. Even if it's tiddlywinks, you got to recognize national champions. Alright, but that is that right there for some college sports action right there. So, jumping on over to some MLB. So, I know it's early in terms of the MLB, but the Dodgers have already made big-time moves. The elephant in the room is they signed Shohei Ohtani. And it was a 10-year deal for, I want to say it was like $70 million. Or $700 million. 10-year deal, $700 million. Just bonkers right there. They must have an unlimited credit card waiting in the wings. But it gets better. They also signed Tyer Glasnow to a big-time deal. I'm not sure how big the deal was. I want to say it wasn't as big as Shohei Ohtani. So let's get that out of the way. But holy guacamole, that was a huge deal. And getting Tyer Glasnow is just as big as getting Shohei Ohtani. And I'm rather impressed. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's a former Tampa Bay Rays pitcher, and apparently he has a lip tattoo. Yuck! So, this is quite astounding for the Dodgers. But what I want to wonder is this. Where are they getting all this money? How are they getting this money? $700 million for 10 years for Shohei Ohtani. That's just ridiculous. And yes, I'm very fortunate that that Southern California gets to keep Shohei Ohtani. Poor Angels, though. They are going to be screwed up the butt. They didn't even get draft picks for them. Now, if they had traded Shohei Ohtani and gotten a massive haul of draft picks and some other notable players, that would have been better. But they just let Shohei Ohtani walk out the door, and now this dude is straight up done. The Angels are done. And hopefully for the Dodgers' sake, they don't choke in the divisional round like they have the past 2 seasons. Seriously, the Dodgers actually might want to get more depth in terms of their pitching and in terms of their rotation altogether. So, I'm glad the Dodgers are actually loading up their bases in terms of their pitching, no pun intended, but they actually got to have a lot of depth altogether. But we'll see what happens with the Dodgers. So, yes. Yeah, that was a long all. I just felt like... I honestly felt like doing that. So, there's that. Alright, but there's that right there for some MLB news. And I think it's awesome that the Dodgers were able to sign Shohei Ohtani. I just really wonder where they're getting all this money. That's the $1 million question that nobody is going to answer. Anyway, so that's that right there. Let's jump on over to some college basketball, just because college basketball is happening right now. So last Sunday was actually quite the astounding day for one Long Beach State men's basketball team. And yeah, it's been a while since they've last beaten USC. And they have never, ever beaten USC at the Galen Center. Up until now. As Long Beach State actually managed to beat USC. Now, this win over USC actually means a lot for Long Beach State as, well, for starters, like I said, Long Beach State has not had a whole lot of luck winning at the Galen Center over USC, but they managed to beat USC despite Bronny James making his debut. That was probably the biggest thing out there, and now it's probably the biggest headline. Long Beach State plays USC in the debut of Bronny James. Bronny James makes his debut for USC. Bronny James this, Bronny James that. USC this, USC that. The Galen Center was freaking packed. There was like 9,806. The capacity is 10,258. But Long Beach State managed to play spoiler and silence all the heretics as they beat USC 84-79 in overtime. I was just downright impressed by USC. The fact that USC wound up losing that game is kind of baffling, if you ask me. And USC had their chances to put away Long Beach State in regulation, as they actually led 74-69 to 72 at one point in regulation after a Bronny James free throw. But Marcus, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Marcus Sohanis managed to make a quick jumper with 3 seconds remaining, and Long Beach State got a block and forced OT, and then Long Beach State eventually won the overtime period 10-5, and they managed to beat USC, which it's another big-time victory for Long Beach State, as Marcus Sohanis led the way with 18 points for Long Beach State, while Vincent Uichukwu led the way with 15 points. If I'm butchering any of these names, I do apologize. And Bronny James had 4 points for USC as he made a three-pointer, but that was pretty much that. Sohanis had 28 points off the bench, mind you. I forgot to mention that. I'm bearing the lead right there. So for Long Beach State to win that game is quite amazing, as they have They have 4 notable wins right there. They have 4 true victories on the road, mind you. They have one against USC, one against DePaul, one against Michigan, and one against Montana State. Those are big-time victories. Now, obviously Long Beach State isn't the biggest team because, well, they're not a Power 5 conference team. They hail from the Big West Conference. But it's still a very impressive win just because Long Beach State is showing that they have depth. And if I'm the Big West Conference, I'm starting to sweat a little just because Long Beach State is showing some chops. Now, their next game is going to be against Cal State Dominguez Hills, and then they start off conference play on the 28th against Cal State Fullerton on the road, and then they close out the month of December against Cal State Northridge, aka CSUN, at the Pyramid. Looking at the standings, CSUN is probably the bigger surprise in the Big West Conferences. They're 7-3. Santa Barbara's 6-3. Long Beach State, as I mentioned, they're 7-4. Fullerton 6-4. UC Irvine's 6-4, though I think they've played a tough schedule. The only team that's kind of struggling at the moment is Cal Poly. I think UC Riverside is playing a tough schedule. I mean, they've played the likes of Washington State. They barely lost to UCLA, even though UCLA had nobody. They barely lost to Montana State. They got stomped on by North Carolina. There's no shame in that. They lost to Utah. No shame in that. So UC Riverside is playing a fairly tough schedule. And who can blame them? They want to get ready for the Big West Conference. So I have to make note of that. And then as for UCLA, if I recall correctly, they played Ohio State, and they wound up losing to Ohio State 67-60. They also lost to Villanova 65-56 last Saturday. But there's no shame in losing to Villanova just because, well, for starters, Villanova is a basketball school, even though they're not the glorified basketball school that they were a few years ago. But losing to Ohio State, that's kind of understandable, but it doesn't really do them any favors, as they're 5-4, just like SC. If I had to choose between who is the more disappointing between SC and UCLA, I'd say USC, because they've got all this talent on their team, and they're only 5-4. Now, granted, they have 2 losses to Gonzaga and Oklahoma. Those are 2 legit opponents. They have 1 loss to UC Irvine, which they were missing 3 of their star players. But what are the excuses this time against Long Beach State? You led most of the way. You were up 15 points at halftime. You led by as many as 17, and you let Long Beach State, who is a legit opponent, actually come back against you. On your home floor, mind you. This just goes to show that all this Bronny James hype really kind of went through their head, in my opinion. And I think that Long Beach State used that as bulletin board material, saying, hey, they're all just focusing on Bronny James. What about us? And Long Beach State, they're making some noise, and I know they're not going to probably make the tournament as an at-large, because they also have a few losses here and there, but still, those are 4 quality wins, and that could help them in terms of seeding, if they get the automatic qualifier from the Big West. But I know the Big West is kind of going to be a gauntlet right there, just because CSUN's improved, Santa Barbara's still going to be up there, Hawaii is the juggernaut this season, do not count out UC Irvine. I think it's going to be a tough little gauntlet for Long Beach State, but I like what I'm seeing from them. And then for the Pac-12, it's kind of also going to be a gauntlet for USC and UCLA. The only sub-500 team that's in the Pac-12 is Cal, and heck, even Arizona lost today to Purdue. So this is going to be quite interesting for all these conference teams, even though the Pac-12 isn't going to be the Pac-12 anymore. But I digress. All right, but that's that for some college hoops right there. Let's jump to some college women's hoops, just because we got to show the ladies some love, just because that's how I roll. So yesterday, I actually caught a little bit of the Long Beach State women's basketball game against Colorado State, and I had no idea Colorado State was undefeated. That was kind of something. I was like, whoa, hold the phone, Hannah, right there. I didn't know Colorado State was undefeated, and it was actually quite something. Long Beach State was actually down by as many as 15, and they managed to almost tie it up before halftime, and they're only down 2, and actually they were down 3. I'm sorry, my bad. I can't do math. And then it was tied up after 3 quarters, and then this was just this kind of massive struggle between both teams trying to pull away. Colorado State was actually led by as many as 5 in the fourth quarter. Long Beach State goes on a 6-0 run, and their defense holds steady, and it's this tug of war of who can make a basket first. And fortunately for Long Beach State, they're able to score at will, or score whenever they can. It was 76-76. One of their players gets to the free throw line, they split the pair of free throws, and then they have this big old defensive stand where Colorado State unfortunately falls short. They couldn't get the ball to go into the basket, and that's how Long Beach State was able to win. They still remain undefeated at home, as that win over Colorado State is pretty good. They were 8-0, and Long Beach State hands the Rams their first loss. Sydney Woodley led Long Beach State with 19 points, as she came up pretty big down the stretch. And Long Beach State is 4-3, but don't let that 4-3 record fool you. They have played some good competition. They played Texas 9 days before, and they wound up getting demolished, 106-62. Ouch. And they're also still undefeated at home. They've beaten Biola, which, no offense to them, not really the biggest win. They also beat Nevada, which also not really a big win right there. And then they had 2 straight losses to California Baptist and Fresno State. And then they beat Pepperdine on the road. But with this win over Colorado State, it's a huge win for Long Beach State because that's a good momentum booster. Tonight they are currently playing Pacific, which is pretty good if you ask me. And they are currently up by 2 against the Tigers of Pacific. Tuesday, Long Beach State will host San Francisco, and then this upcoming Thursday, Long Beach State will host number 6 USC, who has yet to lose a matchup as they just throttled UC Riverside 85-53. They also thrashed San Diego. I already mentioned this on the last show, but they thrashed San Diego 89-58. USC's next game is going to be against Cal State Fullerton on Monday, and then they play Long Beach State, and then they won't have a game until Saturday, December 30th, when they play UCLA, who, also like USC, is undefeated, as they just stomped all over Florida State in their most recent game last Sunday, 95-78, as their next matchup is on Monday as they play at the Ohio State, whose only loss is to USC. And then after that, UCLA comes back home to play Hawaii, and if everything holds firm, USC and UCLA will be playing one another while they're undefeated, as UCLA would be 11-0, and then USC would be 11-0 as well. So it's going to be quite fun to see that matchup. I think it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be at UCLA, Pauley Pavilion, so get your popcorn ready, y'all. All right, but that is going to do it for some college basketball. I know I didn't go over all of the college basketball at hand, but it is what it is, sadly. I'm kind of pressed for time because we have Mike Pat coming on in a little bit. And Boise State is back up 9-7 after they kicked a field goal from 33 yards. Is UCLA going to actually lose because their opponent's pelting them with field goals? I think the Cowboys beat the Saints one year by just kicking field goals. I'm not sure. Anyway, I digress. And that's going to do it for that little portion of the show. Before we get on out of here, we got to go over the Dum Dum of the Week. And we got quite a bit of Dum Dums of the Week. So, the Dum Dum of the Week is basically an award I like to give out basically to someone that does or says something dumb, and to basically an organization that does or says something dumb. So, before I give out my Dum Dum of the Week, I actually have to give out the Big W Award. A Big W Award to Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills. So, last week I kind of gave him Dum Dum of the Week because of what he said about the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Well, I was under the... Obviously, he apologized, and here's the thing. With all of that happening, everyone thought that the Bills were going to crumble. The Buffalo Bills were going to crumble against the Chiefs. They were playing at the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, but the Bills wound up winning 20-17. And then after the game, Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, he got the game ball, and all his players said, "We got your back, coach." Now, I will say, I'm happy the Bills all forgave him. I'm happy most people can forgive him. And I know Sean McDermott didn't mean what he said, but you still just can't say what you said. But I'm glad the Buffalo Bills were able to get his back, to have his back and whatnot. So, congratulations to Sean McDermott on getting my Big W award. And thankfully, he hasn't lost the locker room. And for the Bills' sake, they're putting themselves in a position to win or make the playoffs. They're just not going to win this week because I got the Cowboys beating them. But if for some reason they beat the Cowboys, then the Chargers have no hope of beating them. All right. Drewski says, Dum Dum of the Week goes to... Well, I've got quite a bit of Dum Dums of the Week. So let's start with today's Dum Dums of the Week. So today, as I was scrolling through X, formerly known as Twitter, I found something really funny. Now, I don't know how this wasn't seen by anyone else, by security and whatnot, but apparently someone decided to wear a LeBron James jersey. He had white shorts. This was an IUPUI men's basketball game against Lindenwood, and apparently some fan or someone from the stands checked in from the scorer's table with a LeBron James jersey on and white shirts, and he was about to check into the game. Unfortunately, the referees saw this, and they're like, wait a minute, hold on, don't take that free throw just yet. And basically, I think the athletic director escorted this person out, and then security escorted this person out. So, I'm just going to say, first and foremost, how do you not recognize a guy not coming from the bench? Second of all, how does this guy manage to get onto the sideline? And third, this had to have been a publicity stunt, but I'm just so confused on how some random dude with a LeBron James jersey and white shorts was about ready to check in to a college basketball game, and no one caught that. Oh my goodness. I just don't understand why. I don't understand how, I don't understand why, but whoever this guy is that was about ready to check into a college basketball game, well, I hope you're not going to jail for a while, or I hope you don't get in too much trouble, but if you're not in trouble, you're going to get in trouble with me because you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Oh, but there's plenty more where that came from. So that was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of Dum Dums of the Week. So the second Dum Dum of the Week goes out to an NFL game. So remember how Chargers-Patriots was played on my birthday, and that gave me PTSD? Well, that game had an excuse, because that was played outdoors in sloppy rain, and both offenses were incompetent. And they were even more incompetent because of rain and terrible weather. This game, however, this past week, in terms of the NFL, definitely one-upped it. And that was the Minnesota Vikings and the Las Vegas Raiders, or as Chris Berman would call it, "Yeah, Raiders!" So, this game was played at Allegiant Stadium, in a dome. Again, let me just go back to what I said. The Chargers-Patriots was played outdoors in rainy weather. Vikings-Raiders was played at Allegiant Stadium, in a dome. That means no weather, nothing. And the Raiders and Vikings put up a combined 3 points. Yes, 3 points. The Vikings wound up winning the game 3-0. And that winds up hurting the Rams' chances of making the playoffs. So, look, that makes the Chargers' loss to the Raiders just as worse, because they gave up 63 to the Raiders. But how do you only put up 3 points? And the worst part is, the Raiders actually had a promising drive because they utilized Hunter Renfrow. He got into the red zone, or close to the red zone, and then he fumbles the ball, and then the Vikings recover it. I was just looking at this game in terms of the scores and the play-by-play, and I'm wondering, 0-0, what is going on here? And it was just punt, fumble, punt, fumble, then punt, field goal, and then interception, then field goal, then interception, and then that's it. I don't know what to say. You have to be pretty darn dumb to basically one-up Chargers-Patriots between two teams that have the most incompetent offense of all time. But the Raiders and Vikings just said, hold our beers, please. And they put up 3 points. It was so bad that Urinating Tree, the YouTuber, straight up said, can we just give this win to the Rams? I would have definitely agreed if I were a Rams fan. But unfortunately that's not the case because that's how the NFL works. But oh my god. If we get another game like that, then watch there be a 2-0 game. Or watch there just be a scoreless tie. But Vikings, Raiders, you are dumb of the week because, well, you won up Chargers, Patriots in a massively disappointing way. Also, Greg Joseph, thank you for robbing us from a 0-0 tie. We all were looking forward to that, but unfortunately, you just had to go play hero now, didn't you? You just had to go play hero and ruin the Raiders' playoff hopes, and you also had to basically keep your team's slim playoff hopes. And also, what are the Vikings going to do? And you also had to ruin the Rams' playoff hopes and chances. Like, seriously, Greg Joseph, he deserves Dumb of the Week more so than the Vikings and Raiders do. But everyone's getting Dumb of the Week regarding that game, but Greg Joseph gets the bigger Dumb of the Week.
Dumb. You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Oh, and y'all thought I was done with the NFL. I'm not done with the NFL. Chargers, you are dumb of the week because, well, for starters, you gave up 63 points. The only one that doesn't get dumb of the week is Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert, and Mike Williams and Joey Bosa, since they were all on. They all did not play. And any other player that didn't play for the Chargers, you don't get dumb of the week. But everyone else that showed that gutless, spineless, horrible shit effort against the Raiders on Thursday Night Football, you're dumb of the week. Brandon Staley, you are a hack. Staley should have been, like I said, Staley should have been fired after that Jacksonville debacle game where the Chargers were up 27-0 and wound up losing 31-30. All of Brandon Staley's final games of his season has basically ended in complete failure. Back in 2021, where the Raiders and Chargers played in a Week 18 game where it was win or go home, Chargers wound up losing in overtime off of a game-winning field goal, which Brandon Staley had called timeout, and he also went for it on 4th and 2 in his own territory. Idiot, fucking idiot right there. Oh, and like I said, the Jacksonville game. Chargers jumped out to a 27-0 lead. Gave me false hope because, well, it's the Chargers. And they wound up winning 31-0. They made Trevor Lawrence look like Trevor Lawrence, a.k.a. God Mode. And in this game against the Raiders, they made Aiden O'Connell, like I said. They made him look like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, the trickster god Loki, all put together. And look at what happened. Brandon Staley is out of a job. I feel more bad that Tom Telesco's out, but the Chargers are dumb of the week altogether because it took them so long to actually realize that Brandon Staley is a fucking hack and he deserves to actually go. He's the one that should have been fired and not Telesco. I would have reevaluated Telesco by the end of the season, but I'm pretty sure the Chargers will have dropped those final 3 games, and they're probably going to drop those final 3 games as they're facing playoff teams. So, Chargers, you're dumb of the week, and there is no fucking explanation more.
You are really dumb, for real.
All right, now for the coup de grace in terms of dumb of the week. All right, so those dumb of the weeks are justifiable, but now we gotta stay within the NFL. And we'll actually have 2 more dumb of the week. So staying in the NFL. So remember when I was talking about Bills Chiefs? Oh well, it's funny how I mentioned that game. You want to know how the Bills won that game? Well, it wasn't more so they won it. Well, they obviously won it. Yes, they deserve to win it. But I kind of feel that the Chiefs self-destructed. And they actually had a chance to win the game. And it was an amazing play. Patrick Mahomes finds Travis Kelce. He goes up the middle. And then Kelce backwards passes it to Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney runs on into the end zone for the score. And everyone's thinking, Chiefs are going to win, right? Wrong. Kadarius Toney was lined up offsides. And you rarely see an offensive offsides penalty. But congratulations, Kadarius Toney. You are the winner of the offsides award offensively. And you just had to line up offsides. And you have been the Steve Bartman for not 1 game, but 2 games, as your game against the Lions was what basically hurt the Chiefs, as that could wind up costing the Chiefs in terms of home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. Up until the Super Bowl, of course. But my good golly gracious, it doesn't end there. So y'all are thinking I'm going to give the dumb of the week to Kadarius Toney. Well, maybe. He's part of the reason. He's partially going to get it. But Patrick Mahomes was livid. But if you're going to be livid at somebody, Patrick, you got to be livid at your teammate. He was livid at the refs. So next down, his pass gets batted down, and then on 4th down, Chiefs obviously have to go for it. He has to throw it into traffic. It's incomplete. Bills take over. They kneel it. They win 2017. And then Patrick Mahomes is throwing his helmet in disgust. He is basically throwing a temper tantrum. And then after the game, he goes to find Josh Allen. And then they embrace and then they say, weirdest call, man. I think he says weirdest fucking call, man. Really? Really, Patrick Mahomes? Some face of the NFL right there, am I right? And then he sounded off on how bad that call was. And also, Andy Reid also sounded off about how the refs did not do their job. And Kadarius Toney says, the refs should have warned me that I was offsides. Or maybe you should actually know where the line of scrimmage is. But this isn't the first time the Chiefs were lined up offsides. They did have a defensive offsides back in the AFC Championship game back in 2018-19 when the Chiefs hosted the Patriots, and it looked like Tom Brady had thrown an interception, but I forget who was lined up offsides, but the interception was wiped out, and eventually the Patriots forced overtime, and eventually the Chiefs wound up losing in overtime. But Oh my God. Patrick Mahomes and all of his bitching needs to shut the fuck up. It's so funny because the Chiefs get all of the calls and now the shoe's on the other foot. So to Patrick Mahomes, to Andy Reid and Kadarius Toney, I just gotta say this. Stop your fucking bitching. Move on. And part of me really hopes the Chiefs get shut the fuck up this week. I don't even know who they're playing, but honestly, I hope the Chiefs just straight up... I already said they're not repeating as Super Bowl champs, and I can already tell that they're not going to. So, here's what the Chiefs need to do. You need to actually get receivers that know what they're doing. So, regardless, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Kadarius Toney, y'all are dumbed of the week because Kadarius Toney was lined up offsides. Patrick Mahomes threw a temper tantrum, and he yelled at the refs. And then he sounded off at the refs, and he basically was not genuine in his sportsmanship hug with Josh Allen. And then Andy Reid also was, and Andy Reid was also sounded off on the refs in his press conference. He was also fined $100,000 as well. So those three are dumb of the week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb, for real.
All right. Now for the last dumb of the week, and I've saved the best for last. So, I don't know if y'all know this, but I actually just recently quit my job. I'm officially done with working at the grocery store, which means I will no longer have to move SoCal Supreme Sports Show and Set Point around. But I want to say it was this past Monday. I think it was Sunday. Oh my God. So, this is why I hate closing, because you never know who comes in, which idiot comes in, and apparently we got this knucklehead. So I had no idea what was going on. I was just completing my closing task as a courtesy clerk, aka a bag boy, and then basically I see the closing manager who's in the check stand. He's talking to this guy who's giving him a hard time, and apparently something happened. So I was under the impression, maybe they're just friends and they're just talking. But then it gets a little serious, and he's like, and I'm not going to go into detail what was said, but the dude was basically trying to plead that he didn't do it and he's a good person. But then the supervisor that was arguing with the customer, he basically caught him and said, You did it, and one of my employees caught you, and I saw it on camera, so you're bad, man. So, well, he didn't say you're bad, but he just said we saw you on camera. But it gets worse. So, apparently this guy that the supervisor was talking to, or my supervisor was talking to, my job supervisor, the guy that was arguing with the supervisor, he apparently was a former employee at the job that I used to work at. I am more baffled than ever. I'm like, what? And you know what happened? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on air, but what happened was the guy that was arguing with the supervisor, you know what crime he did? Or you know what he did? He was taking the 50% off stickers off of other items and placing them on other items that didn't have a 50% off sticker. And just like that, I'm losing my faith in humanity. Alright. I don't know what is going on with this guy, but apparently this guy is cool, but this guy is also a weirdo. So, long story short, don't do anything stupid if you're not going to get caught. And make sure you don't get caught. Because there are cameras all over the place in terms of grocery stores. It's one thing to, steal, but to, put discount stickers on other items is straight up ridiculous. And he thought he wasn't going to get caught. That's dumb, dude. So, to this former employee who used to work at the job that I used to work at, well, you basically have fractured the trust between you and the supervisor that you were arguing with. Second of all, you thought you weren't going to get caught, but you did get caught. You have to be very discreet in terms of not getting caught. It's almost as bad as stealing, except it's just as worse, because it's basically lying, and he basically was denying it, and he said, no, I didn't do it, but then the camera showed that he did do it, so sorry, buddy, you're not winning this argument. So to this rando person who used to work at the job that I used to work at, and I'm not going to give out names, you're dumb of the week because you're a terrible liar, you're a terrible person altogether, and my golly, you did something very heinous that I'm surprised that the cops aren't getting involved in. So please don't do anything dumb like that again, and to everyone else listening, don't be like that guy.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Wait, but I have one more quick dum-dum of the week, and this is the cherry on top of the dum-dums of the week. So, remember how I was talking about the Lakers and how they won the in-season championship? So, after the in-season championship, there was champagne waiting in the locker rooms, and basically they popped the bottles, and they were all having fun. They were all like, oh my god, we won the in-season tournament. Good for fucking you. You just lost to the fucking San Antonio Spurs. But it gets worse. The Lakers are going to be hanging up a championship banner following them winning the in-season tournament. Nope. I'm done. I'm officially done. I am done. I'm done. No, I'm not. I'm not done. But still, I am done. I'm done. I'm literally done. You all know what I said about a team hanging up a championship banner in terms of the in-season tournament. You're going to get dumb of the week, and the Lakers did not follow that. As a result, the Lakers are dumb of the week, and they're going to be hanging up a championship banner in terms of the in-season tournament. Absolutely unacceptable. Lakers, would Kobe celebrate an in-season tournament? Would the late Kobe Bryant celebrate an in-season tournament championship? No. He would have just said, job's not finished. He would have just said, who fucking cares? Oh my god, but Lakers, you are dumb as heck, and you are the cherry on top of this mountain pile of dum-dums of the week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all that she wrote, as we only have 4 more minutes until Mike Pat has to go live, as Boise State is now up 16-7 on fucking UCLA. God damn it, UCLA football. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Before I lose my mind and before I get canceled, it's time we get on out of here, because I got me some grub to eat and my voice is about to give out. Yeah, dig. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I truly appreciate you. Big shout out to the chat room. It's Drewski. By the way, sorry about what I said about the Cowboys. It was all just a joke. I didn't really mean it like that. Adam Karnick, Mike Pat, who's going to be going live in about 3 minutes, and Mikey Two Guns, who popped in for a little bit. I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. I should be back next week, but this upcoming week is Christmas, so you never know. Regardless, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. If you're still listening live on IE Sports Radio, in about 2 minutes, Mike Pat is going live with Let's Whine About DMV Sports. Have yourself a great rest of the evening, everybody. Stay safe. Be well. Happy early Christmas. Happy holidays. If for some reason I don't see y'all, happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!